I have to imagine that this is basically a dead Tython.
Yes.
We're seeing it.
I agree.
After it's had its heyday, and it's almost like a dead planet now.
And maybe life is just starting to return a little bit, like it's starting to get green just a little bit in the last few years. Like it's been dead for a while.
Right. But who knows what's going on? It's also just kind of Southern California.
That's all it is. They didn't change it at all. So there's kind of a rumor that's really big for the Mandalorian and Grogu out right now, and we've waited a few days to kind of like let it settle and see, is this a real thing or not? Like, I needed to do some investigating myself and see, like, I don't want to go out there, especially on the podcast, and talk about it if like I'm not, like if it's like very obviously fake. And I think we can conclude that this particular rumor about the Mandalorian and Grogu isn't obviously fake.
Yes, it has a level of plausibility that has been defended over the last little bit that we feel safe in bringing it up. Now that said, it is completely in rumor territory. This is nothing solid. Like, we don't know anything about this. We're just guessing along with everybody else. Mm-hmm. However, it has persisted in the conversation at large long enough that I think we can talk about it. It'd be irresponsible if our particular podcast did not talk about it. Right.
Because this is kind of like our main bread and butter here.
Yeah. So we'll talk about what, we'll get to what the actual rumor and new information is. And then we'll talk about its credibility and that kind of stuff afterwards. So.
Yeah. Of course. Okay. So a few days ago, almost a week ago now, by the time you're listening to this podcast, a German Blu-ray website, which is a totally legitimate website, randomly posted like a blurb for The Mandalorian and Grogu, like a plot summary. Now, not like a plot summary of here's every single beat. This is more like what you would read in the newspaper about, like, this is what the movie's about. Do you want to go buy tickets to this movie? This
is literally the back of the Blu-ray cover.
Right.
Like it is the information, the summary that they would have there, if you were browsing on the shelves.
Exactly.
So it's not, even if this is completely 100% true, it's still not getting into like,
it's not
spoiler territory in my opinion.
Yeah. This is more like, oh, this is going to get you actually hyped for the movie if you're not hyped. Like if you are kind of like, I don't know, this movie just doesn't have the juice for me. If this is real, it's going to give you the juice, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
sure.
let's just read what the blurb said, and then we'll get into what it could mean, and then actually, what we'll do is I'll tell you my investigative efforts, and then we'll get into what it means.
And listeners, strap in, because Alex has had his, 1930s noir detective hat and trench coat on for the last little bit. There's a tale of, sleuthing.
I did some journalism.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into the summary.
All right, let's do this. So the Empire has been defeated and the remnants of its force scattered to the far corners of the galaxy, yet some of the former commanders of this dark era cling to their power and have become dangerous warlords. Okay, kind of a very simple. This is the first 3 seasons of The Mandalorian type.
Yeah,
thing.
This is the premise for the entire property of The Mandalorian. Basically, it's just kind of spilling. It's laying the time period out there.
Right. I'm gonna pull up the full one and make sure I'm getting all the details here, because I want to make sure I'm reading this exactly right. So here's what it says. The Empire has been defeated and the remnants of its force scattered to the far corners of the galaxy, yet some of the former commanders of this dark era still cling to the power and have since become dangerous warlords who continually challenge the peace upheld by the New Republic. To track down and neutralize these cells, Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal, together with his apprentice Grogu, who after his Jedi training has joined the Mandalorians, supports the new government. Okay, again. First 3 seasons, recap. Here's where the new information comes, is the second paragraph. Several clues eventually lead them to the planet Karzun, where they not only manage to infiltrate an almost forgotten Imperial facility, but Grogu also discovers an ancient artifact that functions as an amplifier of his abilities. Unable to control these new powers, Grogu becomes the target of Imperial agents who begin preparing a coordinated assault on the New Republic, seeing in the small being their opportunity to destroy the enemies of the Empire in a single strike.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll save the content talk about like what that artifact could be, because there's something in the EU that's very similar to that.
Yeah.
And how exciting that actually sounds for a Star Wars movie. Like that sounds so cool.
It does.
I want to get into the legitimacy of this first. Okay. So when you type in that planet name, because I was like, okay, is this a planet that we have had before in Star Wars, whether in canon or in the old expanded universe? I wanted to know, so I typed in Karzun to, the Google search engine.
And that is Kharzuun.
Yep.
So Karzun.
Yep. So I typed that in. Only hit that I get is this German Blu-ray website, and then a Mandalorian RPG.
Interesting. So just like a is it like a forum of people
it's like
that
forum
that are playing
Yep.
maybe the tabletop RPG or something is
It's
Mandalorian.
not. It's like a text-based RPG. So like
Gotcha.
like a writing type RPG.
Gotcha.
Okay. So when that comes up, you see like an image of Din Djarin sitting on a throne and this red sky. It's like, this is kind of cool, actually. But this post was, let me see when it came out, July 13th, 2025.
Interesting.
Okay. And they mentioned, I declare Karzun the Black Summer. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's the same name there.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of the RPG things. So what I did is I joined the RPG naturally. Like I signed up for the RPG, and I just straight up went to like the water cooler forum and asked like, hey, I don't know if you guys are aware of this happening right now, but the name Karzun is like the only hit, and it's this website, and it appeared on a German Blu-ray website for the plot summary of the Mandalorian and Grogu. Can anybody tell me what the origin of this is? And I got a pretty quick response from them. They said that it's totally coincidental, like they don't know anything about the plot of the movie, but what they had done is they were looking for something like in Mandoa to sound really, really cool. And that's what they came up with. Like
interesting.
They used Mandoa to come up with that. And I was like, okay, thank you for that information. They had not known about the Blu-ray thing.
Yeah.
And so like, they were kind of like laughing, like, oh my gosh, this is like going to become a thing, especially now. So there was no connection there, according to them. Like on their side of it, that was just totally a coincidence. Now, I think it's interesting that they used Mandoa for that, right?
Right. I mean, because that implies that there's maybe some source that could be in common between both the writers of the movie and this role-playing group.
Because I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, so where did you do your translations of Mando?
Yes.
Like, what were you using for Mando? They did not answer me about that. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I know. But if I get an update on that, I'll make sure to update everybody on that. So that happened. Okay. So it's like, okay, interesting that it's the same exact spelling.
Yeah.
Number one. So then I was thinking, okay, because I've seen several theories like on the internet that this is just an AI generated blurb that they put in for now to kind of like as a placeholder.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that's the case. And the reason is going to be kind of weird. Grogu was misspelled a few times, and so was Mandalorian in the blurb itself. And to me, that actually says this was not written by AI. This was written by someone who was trying to translate something that maybe didn't make sense to them totally in their own natural language of German.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I mean, any like language model AI thing, and I'm no expert because I have my own thoughts on all of the
we don't like
the
AI,
AI engines. This is a fully anti AI. We're anti clanker, I think, on this podcast.
That's right. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I like that. For
However,
the Republic.
from my understanding, it's just pulling from information that's posted all over the internet, where the Mandalorian and Grogu are, all over the place in official articles spelled correctly and everything. So I think it would pull correct spellings of those things. Like this almost implies there's some difference in, and again, the German nature of it. I don't know if it was just localized in a different way, because these are fictional made up words, so they could be, translated or localized however they need to be. So if there's any German listeners listening, let us know how Grogu and Mandalorian are spelled in, the stuff that you're consuming.
Well, I guess my question also to add on to that would be, like, if you're not familiar with the Mandalorian and Grogu, does that just look like what is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't know how often in the German language people say Grogu.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So so I don't know. To me, that kind of screams that it's not AI. Okay, so then what is it? I did some further investigating in terms of the name Karzoon. Okay, the RPG thing I'm going to have to put to the side. Let's investigate. Is there anything in the EU that sounds similar to, because we know from especially season 2 of The Mandalorian, which we're going to be talking about, chapter 14, the tragedy, on this episode, they like to use and pull things from the EU, like Tython, right?
Exactly.
They love to do that. So are there any similarities in the EU? There are. There's actually some Sith planet names called Cardelba, and then it's got also kind of a moon that also starts with Car. So those are the two main ones. But here's the interesting thing about Cardelba. It's an ice planet. Now, if you think back to the trailer, the Empire is on an ice planet.
One that we've been speculating maybe could be Hoth, but it looks a little bit different, and it would make sense if it was a new distinct location.
Mountainous terrain.
Exactly. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, and okay, so ice planet. According to the EU, the Sith species, not the Sith like lords.
Right. The red tendrily guys. If you're not familiar with the lore of the Sith being their own species before becoming like a dark side order, it's worth looking up just on Wikipedia or whatever. It's some wild stuff.
And it's fun. It's a good Saturday afternoon read when you have nothing to do. But so the Sith species fled to this planet after the Rakatan invasion. So the Rakatans took over Korriban. Sith got scared and found this planet and colonized this planet.
And the Rakata are becoming increasingly canon, actually through Andor, which is a really surprising source for all that. But it continues to, and Skeleton Crew as well. Yeah. I think the Rakata are, cementing themselves in canon in a big way. So it's interesting that they're also connected.
Right. Okay. And so then Naga Sadow, who is a Sith Lord, like what we would think of as Sith. Yeah. Also used this kind of as his base, built very like Sith spires and stuff on the planet. Yeah. Okay. Now with that information in mind, let's go back to that second paragraph of what we just read. Right. So like if we're looking at what the second paragraph says, it says several clues eventually lead them to the planet Karzoon, where they not only managed to infiltrate an almost forgotten Imperial facility. Okay. I'm thinking Palpatine's got some like almost Exegol, maybe one of the observatories from the Aftermath trilogy.
Yep.
Like,
that'd be really cool. Definitely, I think could be connected to Moff Gideon and Dr. Pershing and everything they're doing with cloning research and that kind of stuff. I think this could definitely, be a facility where that's going on, seeing as it's like a forgotten Imperial facility.
It's like a secret.
Yeah, we saw just a couple episodes ago in the Siege for season 2, the facility they're coming into it was a secret laboratory, you know, like Grief thought it was just some like garrison or barracks or something like that. So it makes sense that if, you know, there's a level of secrecy to where the locations of all these laboratories are, this could be one that was kind of just forgotten by the galaxy.
Very much like Mount Tantus as well, right? Like very like kind of held secret. Not everyone in the Empire even knows about it. So then Grogu discovers an ancient artifact that functioned as an amplifier of his abilities. Unable to control these new powers, Grogu becomes the target of Imperial agents who begin preparing a coordinated assault on the New Republic, seeing in the small being their opportunity to destroy the enemies of the Empire in a single strike. So
that's really interesting.
That's super interesting. In the EU, the very first Star Wars novel ever written is called Splinter of the Mind's Eye. In that, there's the Kyber crystal, not Kyber crystals like we think of them now in lightsabers. This was something completely different. Kiburr crystal.
Yeah.
This was a force amplifying object. It made you stronger in the force. You could do things that you would not normally be able to do using this thing. Now, I don't think in the movie that they would call it that. There'd just be so much confusion on that. But I think the idea would be very similar. And honestly, it's kind of like what we're going to be talking about on this episode. I promise we're going to get to the tragedy. But when Grogu sits on the Sing Stone, it amplifies his force abilities. It literally does that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it is really kind of you know, fortuitous that we're talking about all of this on the episode with what, like you said, Tython, kind of the Jedi hinge or whatever you want to call it. Because I could see something working very similar. Maybe the Empire has built a like super weapon of some kind that almost uses a powerful force user like a battery. And then whatever this artifact is almost like a focusing lens for that power, and could actually channel it into, you know, some kind of Death Star type. Because I'm just thinking about how
like Malachor. It's kind of like that. Yeah,
exactly. I'm just thinking about how the Empire would mount a full scale assault against the New Republic at this time, and I think they would have to have some kind of trump card like that. Because I don't think they have the numbers. I don't think they have the organization. Unless they're just really keeping a lot of that hidden.
Now, to me, that also screams, again, none of this might be true at all, but if we're just operating on the assumption right now that it is.
Yeah.
So if it is true, I think then you've got a warlord who's going rogue and not doing what Thrawn would want.
Exactly.
And seeing an opportunity and trying to make do on that opportunity via Grogu. Now, I don't think it's going to be successful, nor do I think that they're going to launch any sort of full-scale attack, and because, you know, Din's going to stop it.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? But I agree with you. Like, I think maybe it's like using Grogu as kind of a focusing lens. Maybe it's something very similar to the Jorah Syaboth battle meditation, Bastila from Knights of the Old Republic. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. But I absolutely hope this is real.
I also do. I think a lot of the complaints that we've had about, you know, or not complaints, but like our fears. Or worries about the movie, just from what we've seen from the marketing, is that it's going to feel like kind of just an exaggerated episode of The Mandalorian that was put on screen for more business or financial related, you know, reasons, and not because they had a big screen story to tell. This ties it into the rest of the films in a much bigger way. If we're talking about, you know, Grogu and a you know, focus on the Force side of things, which the Mandalorian is traditionally not, you know, the venue for that, but it occasionally has to be because of the nature of Grogu. So, you know, I think it ties it to the saga films and the rest. It just makes it feel Star big Wars enough to carry the weight of a feature film, you know?
Yeah, that's the only issue I had with Solo, is like the absence of the Force. Was very, like, you could feel that in that movie. I love that movie. I think it's great. I think in many ways it is the Star Wars movie. You're like, it's so Star Wars, but you also feel the lack of the Force in that movie.
Yeah.
I think this kind of like alleviates any sort of concerns on that level of things, because yeah, of course you have Grogu and he can use the Force, but like this has to do with the Force.
Right.
I also think that if this is the case, we're also for sure getting Luke Skywalker on screen.
Yeah, I
Right?
think there'd be probably no getting around it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's as I'm almost, I would be disappointed, I think, to get Luke on the big screen, just as was to have him in the finale of season 2. Not because I don't like Luke or anything like that, just because I want the focus to be on the new characters and everything like that.
But it would draw people to the theater for sure.
It
right?
certainly would. It certainly would. But I think the promise of like ancient Force lore is more exciting to me. The fact that 100%. To find this artifact, we're probably going to have to go into some kind of ancient temple or like, maybe this Imperial facility was, like you said, built on top of some kind of Force spot, like the observatories we read about in Aftermath. All of that is so exciting to me and promises that scale of adventure that I, really kind of expect from a Star Wars story on the big screen.
Yeah. And I would, not to like plot this thing out, but I would love, like, if there's an Imperial warlord who has one of Palpatine's, like, the guys with the big hats in Return of the Jedi, kind of like Tashu from Aftermath trilogy, like
they're like the Sith viziers.
If one of them was just like, here's how this works, here's how we do this, we could, like, I would love a character like that, of like getting a little ambitious of like, maybe I can become the Sith, or you know what I mean, like
seeing like maybe thinking that Vader's time is limited, seeing how that's all going and being like, I could be next in line for the apprenticeship. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's huge potential for story with something like that. Now, the thing that probably gives me the biggest pause is like the marketing is so focused on Rada the Hutt right now.
Yeah.
Not mentioned at all in this.
That's a huge concern. But, it also, I could see them trying to make more of a very small scene in the movie because of the Jeremy Allen White connection.
Is he really that big of a draw? No offense to Jeremy Allen White.
I think he's having a moment right now with the bear and the Iron Claw.
Okay, so I tried
the Bruce
watching
Springsteen thing.
I tried watching The Bear.
Yeah.
Most stressful show I think I've ever watched. I turned it off almost like 15 minutes in. I'm like, this is not enjoyable at all.
Yeah. I've been looking at the bear from the outside, pressing my face against the glass, looking in the window on it, because it looks like a great show that I would enjoy, but I've been putting it off for that reason. It looks like it would add so much anxiety to my life, and I don't have the room for that.
Okay, so that's the thing that gives me the biggest pause of like, could this be fake? There's no Rada mentioned. Now, it could be like, it says like several clues lead them to this. That could be part of it, right? Like Rada has the information that gets them to this Imperial facility.
Right.
But there's a lot of things that line up with the teaser as well, like the ice planet, if that's the case. I mean, the Empire's definitely on that planet. Yeah. So like the Empire's going to be involved. It's not just the underworld. The Empire is involved too. So I think
it also just seems like a believable continuation of everything they've been doing in the show. Exploring secret Imperial facilities and finding out information, that they've got more going on than the New Republic thinks, and all of that. It's all in line with everything that's been happening.
Also think about the emotional weight of that, of like Grogu potentially falling to the dark side in this moment, or being pushed into the dark side by the Empire, and Din having to bring him out of that. Like, that's the core of the movie, right? Like that's the central theme of like the father and son type thing going on here, of like the father saving the son in this movie, not the other way around.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that all just sounds
very
perfect.
Star Wars. Yeah.
So, let's hope that there's some truth in the rumor. You are listening to Children of the Watch. I'm Mac Lacey.
24 minutes in. And I'm Alex Maxwell. And today we're continuing the Mandalorian Rewatch with Season 2, Chapter 14, The Tragedy.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. If you're new to our podcast, we break down every single episode of Star Wars television scene by scene to analyze the story, find for Easter eggs, and explain how it all connects to the larger Star Wars universe. And today we're doing that, like we said, with Chapter 14, The Tragedy. And this one is directed by Robert Rodriguez, who ended up becoming one of the executive producers and showrunners for the Book of Boba Fett, which we're going to have that conversation on this episode as well of like, this promises something. Does the Book of Boba Fett deliver on that promise?
Yeah.
I would say probably not. And then the writer, Jon Favreau, and this premiered December 4th, 2020. So let's get into this breakdown and then just kind of talk about it as we go. We open up and we waste almost no time on this episode, just getting right into it. And it kind of breaks the structure of The Mandalorian in a weird way, kind of like, we're not taking the side quest stuff. We're not doing the side mission. We're literally going as fast as we possibly can towards this specific plot. And it's an interesting choice.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it is following in kind of the rhythm that it always sets up, though, of like, we do the side quests and everything until about the third to last episode in the season. And then it's direct to, the big overall pieces of the story that are going to move, like in this case, Grogu being captured, spoiler alert, and Boba Fett being back and all of that stuff. I don't know if we really got into it last time, but Tython is a huge deal if you're not familiar. The Dawn of the Jedi comics are a great way to get all of this information, but Tython is the primal birthplace of the Jedi Order and almost Force sensitivity in and of itself in the extended universe. It's like the original Jedi were both light side and dark side users, and the planet itself reflected both sides of or it had moons that were it had a light side moon and a dark side moon, and the way that they interacted affected how the flow and balance of things on the planet itself. And so there's a lot of really cool ideas. None
of them present in this
none of them present here, but I think the core thing of Tython being like an ancient source of massive force power, I think that is still present here.
But for sure.
I mean, it is a little disappointing, honestly, just to see I have to imagine that this is basically a dead Tython.
Yes.
We're seeing it.
I agree.
After it's had its heyday and it's almost like a dead planet now.
And maybe life is just starting to return a little bit, like it's starting to get green just a little bit in the last few years. Like it's been dead for a while.
Right. But who knows what's going on? It's also just kind of Southern California.
That's all it is. They didn't change it at all. Like this is exactly where the Power Rangers are.
Yep.
I
think Godzilla's had some fights here.
Yep. So Din and Grogu reach Tython much faster than usual for the show, like we're talking about, which inside the Razor Crest, Grogu and Din share a quiet, emotional moment with the shift knob, which is Grogu's favorite toy. Din tests Grogu's ability to use the Force. And what I love about this is that the scene's not just cute. Like, of course it's cute.
Of course it is.
I think it shows Din accepting that Grogu is strong.
Yeah.
And that's important to Mandalorians, I think, too. Like, he's really proud of Grogu for being able to just do that. He's like, dang Ferric, and kind of scares him a little bit, but he's very proud of him.
I think he's also a little bit, and I don't begrudge him this. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think he's a little proud that Grogu will train with him in this way that he wouldn't with Ahsoka. And I think it's a reflection of their bond. And I think Din kind of understands the gravity of that there is great power in this little being, and also so much of the result of that power is going to depend on him and how he raises and guides this little being.
Yeah.
It's a good scene.
It's a great scene. Once they land, the Sing Stone comes into view. Din clearly has no real idea how this works. So like they can't land on top of the Sing Stone. There's not enough room for the Razor Crest. So they sit down and then they use the jetpack to get up there.
Yeah.
And when they get there, they don't really understand what they're supposed to do. Like especially Din. He's just kind of like looking around.
He's looking for like a button or a switch.
Yeah, he's looking at this Stonehenge type thing going on top of the mountain, and he sees, okay, there's a center stone there.
Yeah.
And so they go towards the center stone. He's trying to activate Jedi magic like it's a control panel.
Mm-hmm.
Grogu doesn't respond at first, which adds some of the tension. Din touches his helmet HUD, trying to analyze the stone. The markings feel old, even ancient, and visually echo deeper Force mythos there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something there that's kind of exciting, but we don't spend any time on that. Grogu then his focus snaps in only when Din mentions Ahsoka by name.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that matters a little bit. And then he ends up activating the Seeing Stone.
Yeah. It's almost like being reminded of other Jedi, and I think being reminded of other Jedi is going to remind him of the training he received and everything like that, and kind of instinctually remembers what to do in this situation.
Exactly. So Grogu reaches out and activates the stone. The glyphs light up. The energy barrier forms. Din tries to stop it, but physically he can't get past through the field. And then he gets thrown back multiple times as he's trying to approach Grogu because he's thinking like, oh, he's in danger. Like I got to get him out of this thing. But Grogu
is just there in his little meditation stance.
He's even doing that.
He's got the little finger things. Yeah.
Grogu is fully in the trance. He's unreachable. And this isn't just like a Force moment. It's a broadcast out to the galaxy. I just had a thought.
Yeah.
If he's making this like broadcast out in the galaxy, Luke can't be the only one that heard it.
Oh yeah. And we've had that conversation back in the day too. I think we've lost that thread just because they also haven't followed up on that much. But there's several other people that could be also hearing this message.
Right. Who are Force sensitive.
Right.
And not good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So as all this is happening, at the worst possible moment, Slave One appears in the sky. And I remember seeing that at the first, I was like, my stomach kind of dropped. I was like, this is not the time, Boba Fett.
Right. And because we hadn't done the Book of Boba Fett. We're not acquainted with the new Boba. What we have in our head is a cold-blooded, relentless killer, basically the Terminator in flesh. And he's just appeared in the sky, like you said, at the worst possible moment.
Right. And it's just... But there's something very ominous even by the way it's shot and the way you see it's like flying in and the sound of it too. Just the sound design of it was so good.
It feels like the ship is stalking them. Yeah. Like it feels like a predatory animal.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Din realizes they're exposed. He can't stop the ritual and he can't protect Grogu at the same time. But then Din goes down there. He sees Boba get off. Boba's arrival is quiet, it's controlled, it's intentional. He doesn't come in guns blazing. He just wants his armor.
Yeah.
Din assumes the worst, Jedi or Hunter. Boba clarifies he's strictly there for the Beskar. This isn't about bounty, it's personal. And then he gives like a really fun twist on a line that his dad said, and then it's also a twist on like how Luke Skywalker says it in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
He says, I'm a simple man making his way through the galaxy, like my father before me.
Yeah.
So the original line from Django was, I'm just a simple man making my way through the universe. Mm-hmm. Boba heard that when he was a kid in Attack of the Clones on Kamino. He's using the line, he's not using universe anymore, he's galaxy, which is more appropriate and right. But yeah. I love that. I just love that.
Yeah. And, we had all kinds of questions going into this episode about, are the Fetts true Mandalorians? Where do they fit into, and especially in this world that we now have the Children of the Watch and, kind of mainstream Mandalorianism, where do they fit into all that? And Boba keeps that question alive in our minds because he's saying this in response to Din asking him, "Are you a Mandalorian?"
Right.
So I thought it was interesting that even in this episode, they're aware of our questions about that and kind of keeping that tension alive as well.
And then just like personal wise, Boba does not seem interested in like being claimed as a Mandalorian.
He's like, it shouldn't matter in the same way that it matters to you, which, there's, you can think however you want about either way of thinking. But it is just interesting. Being a Mandalorian and like, am I Mandalorian enough is the only thing Din thinks about other than Grogu, I think. And so for Boba Fett to just not care and be like, no, that's not the point. You're kind of missing it. I like the juxtaposition.
I do too. That is interesting. The key tension here is ideological, like you said, not just physical. Din believes the armor belongs to Mandalorians. Boba believes it belongs to him by blood. Neither is technically wrong. Like you're saying, like it's just kind of like one of those. I don't even know if like ideological is correct. It's more theological, I feel like, for Mandalorians.
It's spiritual in a way, even if we're not talking about like a religion per se. It's still like a spiritual.
Yeah, for conflicts. Mandalorians, that is their religion, is their weapons of war. So then out of nowhere, Fennec Shand being alive changes the power balance. So like she kind of announces her presence, and Boba mentions like, hey, we've got a sniper trained, and it's not on you. It's on your green companion up there. So you need to do what we want, and we'll be on our way.
And that's separating him from the common rabble, I think.
Right.
He can read the situation and be like, no, you're going to care more about Grogu than your own life. So, we're going to adjust the stakes accordingly.
Yeah. Now, Din realizes he's outpositioned, not outmatched. Grogu is the leverage. I think an important detail here, though, is Boba doesn't want Din dead.
Yeah.
He just wants the standoff to end clean. So, like, what I like about the portrayal of Boba Fett in this particular episode is that, as we'll see in just a minute, absolutely maybe the most brutal, cold-blooded fighter I've ever seen in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But he's also a man of honor.
Yeah. I really like that. I like that they added another little layer to what we had built up over decades in our heads. He is just as capable, just as, deadly as we always built him up to be, but he's got a little more personhood to him. He's not just this, robot in relentless pursuit anymore. There's, they're doing some character things with him. And I think just probably being a Mandalorian and, wearing the armor earns a level of respect in Boba's mind, automatically that other people he may not offer this same chance and room, to other people, but who knows?
Yeah. We'll talk about the Book of Boba Fett after we talk about the brutal fight scenes here in just a second. But then the Empire arrives, kind of ruin this. I also need to mention they make him take off his jetpack.
Yeah. And they make a very,
it's weird.
Yeah.
It's one of the moments where you can clearly see the writing of like the reason he has to take off his jetpack is because he can't get to Grogu in time.
Yeah.
That's really the real reason. But like the reason that Boba and Fennec want him to do it doesn't really make any sense to me.
Because like putting his blaster down would be a much more practical, like the jetpack is a distance thing. I think you're probably the safest from all of its missiles and all that kind of stuff right next to Din, right? I think that's like the one place that's safe from the jetpack. So yeah, it doesn't make any tactical or strategic sense really. It's very much take the jetpack off because the plot demands it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not my favorite thing. But I just wish they had another reason, I guess, like in the writing. But the tension breaks when the Imperial transport lands and stormtroopers deploy fast, and there's no time for negotiation now at this point. Din runs back uphill towards Grogu. He doesn't stop to get his jetpack, which would have been much faster just to do. Again, not a problem, I guess. He tries again to cross the barrier, fails again. He can't get through to Grogu. Below, Boba and Fennec engage. And this is where Boba transforms from mysterious survivor into just pure battlefield force.
Yeah.
The gaffy stick combat is brutal and grounded. I love it.
It exudes strength, like just in the choreography and everything like that. And the moves are so deliberate. Like each strike is intentional, and Boba knows what he's doing with that thing.
And just the way that plastoid armor from the stormtrooper, like just breaking apart, like more so than what we saw in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like to me, especially for a director like Robert Rodriguez, who, sorry, I don't know why I couldn't get his last name out. Robert Rodriguez, he loves a traditional action scene with a shootout and tons of blood and all of that kind of stuff. In Star Wars, this is kind of the closest you can get to some of that action gore type stuff.
There's
it's like
one
the
spot where his
implication.
face is like just shattered.
Yeah, I mean they show a shot of like crumpled helmet on body, but it's giving the impression of so much more violence than they're like actually showing. But it's to a great effect.
Oh, they do such a good job with it here. There's no flashy move. There's nothing like this feels choreographed in a way that it's like a dance number. It's just raw aggression.
And I mean, this is this is why you bring Robert Rodriguez in to direct this stuff. I think his kind of trademarks are all over this episode. You bring him in to do a movie on almost no budget with almost no resources, and he's just going to turn out this really competently, creatively made, action-packed thrill ride. And I think you see that in this episode. The setting is very sparse. I mean, he's really just using the natural landscape and everything as the set
drive
pieces.
20 minutes out here and do this.
And let's just do it. So, I mean, it feels very true to him and his directing style. And I think it's a great way to reintroduce us to just how much of a threat Boba Fett is.
And I love it too. So up above, Fennec is being the sniper. She's the precision, right? And she handles range. Boba is just handling all the chaos. Like Boba's just jumping in. Any stormtrooper that gets close, getting that gaffy stick right in the face.
I mean, he's just moving through them like a bull. It's
incredible. It's so incredible. But I think thematically what this section of the episode tells us is Din can't protect Grogu.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge blow to Din himself of like realizing I can't protect him from everything that's coming at him.
Right.
And then Boba and Fennec become the front line instead. Like he's got to rely on other people now.
Yeah.
He can't do it alone.
And I mean, that is a huge thematic point of the entire show is that, you need a community around you and you need the friends you make along the way to be able to live up to who you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think, this is definitely a moment where that lesson is imprinting itself upon Din in a huge way.
Absolutely. But then Grogu finishes the transmission. The ritual is complete and the energy fades around him. And then he passes out from exhaustion onto the Seeing Stone. Din finally accepts he can't reach him yet and goes in to help in the fight. That character growth that he's trusting the Force now instead of trying to control it, I think is pretty interesting of like, okay, I've just got to do what I know I can do.
Right.
Which, for all the criticism that people levy at The Mandalorian Season 3, there's a moment in the finale where Din has this kind of revelation again of like, because he picks up that really cool stormtrooper baton thing in the finale, remember? And I remember thinking, how cool would it be if he had that all the time? But then he puts it down in favor of the 2 blasters because he knows who he is and who he is. And when he's comfortable with who he is, that's when he's operating best. And I think we see a moment like that here where he's like, okay, I know what at least I can do, and I'm going to go do it. And he ends up saving Fennec and using the whistling birds. And now I will say, I think it always looks silly when Din just takes shots, blaster shots, and he's just doing that.
It does.
I don't like that.
Yeah. I'm like, it just kind of makes him, it makes him look dumb in a way. Does that makes it? It's like, I know you're wearing a bulletproof shell, but like, you don't have to be constantly put that to the test, you know? You can still take cover. That's fine. Like because he could have done he could have even like pushed Fennec, to the ground and like covered her like that way. There's so many more things.
Just doing that and
it's
you don't look cool.
I don't love that either. And it also just like you can only do that so many times before blasters are not a threat psychologically for Din or other Mandalorians anymore, Like they never let him. It's implied that like the E-web coming out is a big deal because he couldn't just take that to the dome like he does all the hand arms. But
yeah, I don't love it. Let's find different ways to express Beskar. I think.
Because even like. Again, he could be turning away from the like. There's just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I think it just looks silly. So wave 2 of the Imperials lands, but Din and Fennec are kind of working as a unit. Then down below, Boba sees the Razor Crest, and he sees that it's open.
Yeah.
Right. So he sees that it's open. He knows that his armor is in the Razor Crest, and so he goes for it.
Yeah.
And the moment he puts on the armor is the true Boba Fett is back scene.
Oh, and it's in full effect. I love the black robes underneath the armor. Yeah. I actually like this look maybe more than the new kind of jumpsuit and stuff that he has in the show. I really like this. Like it's apparent that he's a little bit of an older Boba Fett. He's got the dad bod going on and everything, but
in a weird way, it almost makes him look stronger.
I think so.
Like you don't mess with people that look like that,
right? I mean, like true strength, like people who like the typical superhero build is not actually what really strong people look like. Like those are show muscles. Like Boba Fett is what strong people actually look like.
Yeah, he's got that dad strength. Like oh gosh.
If you're gonna do really strong stuff, you need a huge core to protect you through all those movements. And that's the physique going on. Like I mean, he is super athletic. Tamora Morrison kills it as Boba Fett. I think
I love the knee rockets. When he uses the knee rockets, I thought was a huge highlight here.
Yes,
I love it.
And that's also very like Robert Rodriguez to me. There's the whole thing in From Dusk Till Dawn. That
the guitar gun.
No.
What's that?
If you know, you know. Moving on.
What's that one? Desperado? Is that one?
Desperado is where they've got the violin cases.
That's right.
Or they're guitar cases with the guns in there.
Yeah. Anyways, this whole sequence of Boba Fett just absolutely wrecking the rest of the stormtroopers, and then he ends up firing his missile rocket and destroying the 2 transports, and then like it was kind of on accident. Like he was aiming for the other one, but it ended up destroying both of them. I loved this, and honestly, this fulfilled the promise of Boba Fett's whole look and mystique that had been building since The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, yeah, that's the whole problem with Boba Fett, is that the stuff that we actually had of him on screen never lived up to the mythos that everyone built up in their heads just by looking at the character and how the character looks, and then through all of the stories that were told in the EU and in comic books and video games and all that kind of stuff. this is really the first time that we get to see Boba Fett as an adult, not as little Boba Fett. It's the first time we get to see him be that warrior that we all knew he was, but just hadn't ever witnessed yet.
Yeah. It's okay. So I guess this is a good spot to have this conversation. What happened between this episode and the Book of Boba Fett to where it feels like now let me preface by saying I love the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I know that it's not everybody's favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. And there's other reasons for that, like the Vespa gang and stuff like that. But the Boba Fett that we see in the Book of Boba Fett is not this Boba Fett. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just the problem of, again, in this episode, really all they had to do was show us Boba Fett kicking butt like we all thought he was the whole time. That's really the only thing they had to do. Just delivering on that, like kind of the promise of Boba Fett, carries his whole appearance in this episode, I think. I think the problem comes when you have to extrapolate a character built on being this kind of mysterious, threatening killer into the protagonist of an entire story. And not only that, but be a protagonist that can also play nice with all of the other shows going on in the Mandoverse and be brought in for the crossover events and all of that kind of stuff. I think the problem comes there. And so to get that much story, I think you have to add to his character to a point where no matter what you're doing, it's too much and it's just going to detract, if that makes sense. I think the messages get confused. Like, this Boba Fett is focused. He's trying to get his armor back and he's just trying to kind of claw himself back into the position he was before he lost it all, Then when you get into the Book of Boba Fett show, there's all these other motives of restoring order to Tatooine and being a community leader. And like, it gets so much more complicated in a way that I don't think the character was ever meant to be.
For sure. I think probably then it would have helped just an explanation of like, why does Boba want to do this? And why does he want to bring order to Tatooine in the first place? Exactly.
I think that's something we're going to get into the Book of Boba Fett here in a little bit.
That's coming in January.
In 2026, baby, we're dropping it into Boba Fett gear.
Yeah. We'll even go back to the old logo for a little bit. The Boba Fett logo.
Maybe.
Yeah, why not?
But all that being said, I when you get into they didn't do enough. They added to his character without expanding his foundation, and that's the trouble, I think.
And I think too. So like, I think they tried to in the Book of Boba Fett with the flashbacks of the Tusken Raiders. But it doesn't connect to what's happening in the present at all.
Exactly.
And I think that's the biggest issue with the show is like, okay, I love the Tusken Raider stuff, actually. I think it's like actually probably the more interesting stuff from the show.
Yeah. When we were watching through the first time and doing coverage, we were speculating and theorizing how all of this was a grand ploy for him to be able to secure water rights for the Tuskens again. Or, something like that. Anything like that. If he needed to become daimyo of Tatooine and
to protect the rest of the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, okay, you've got a motivation there. Like, they helped you out when you were the lowest, and you just want, as a man of honor, you're trying to repay the favor. And now that you're in a position of power, you're trying to protect them. Cool, done. That solves it.
Yes,
but there was nothing like that. It's just, nope. I'm Boba Fett. I need to be daimyo of Tatooine.
Why?
Because
I just think there was a lack of cohesion with the flashback storyline and the present day storyline. And I think there's probably even a better way that they could have weaved those two stories together and not just had the first 4 episodes all flashbacks.
Right.
And then the last, 3 or 4 present day. I think there's a way you could have a present day storyline and then cut to flashbacks and here's how and why this is happening. And we had one, and I still remember this theory. It was from Australia the guy who called in, and like how like they thought Mos Espa would be like flooded with water, and you know what I mean? You remember that one? And like how the Tuscans would be restored to their rightful place on Tatooine, and there's just so much potential there.
So much, and just none of it materializes, but that's okay. I think for this episode, it's all amazing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I love Boba Fett in this episode. So the transports are destroyed. And so just when you think, okay, the good guys are going to make it out of this, they look over at the Razor Crest, and then just a red bolt from the air just comes and absolutely destroys the Razor Crest. I mean, and this is because people keep saying like Din has rebuilt the Razor Crest. There is literally nothing to rebuild. He had to buy a new Razor Crest.
Yeah, it's
for the Mandalorian Grogu. This is not the same one.
Like, there wasn't one part there, even if he went back to Tython and tried to scavenge something later. There's not one part there you can use as the foundation for a rest of the ship. Like, nothing has its structural integrity anymore. Like, that ship separated into its different chemical components.
Right.
Like, it is no longer in the same state or phase of matter.
There's nothing I mean, the only thing that came out of that was the Beskar spear. Because it's Beskar.
And that's it was even buried under ash that the most of the ship had been reduced to. So yeah, it's a new Razor Crest. And also after we've spent the whole season getting it repaired. Like the entire season has been subplot after subplot revolving around getting the Razor Crest flyable to get to the next place, and then all of that to just...
Could they not have done something where the stormtroopers disabled it, and then like that's why they can't fly it to go rescue Grogu, and they've got to use Slave One?
They could have even captured the ship. They could have had something
away with it,
like, or just had a bigger ship come pick it up. You know, a big Lambda craft. Have it like pick it up underneath or something. Whoop. Exactly, something like that to where Din doesn't have it anymore. He's got to hitch a ride with Boba and Fennec now, but we didn't need to just erase the ship from existence.
So it's gone. No dramatic music, no slow goodbye. It's just erased. Is this the emotional tragedy of the episode, or is it this next spot where Grogu is taken? Because on board the transport above, Gideon orders that the Dark Troopers be mobilized, and then we see them descend. They don't rush, they march. Grogu wakes up alone on the stone. Din tries to reach him, but it's too late. One Dark Trooper takes Grogu and ascends. There's no fight, no hesitation, just mechanical precision, because these are all droids. Like, this is the part where I think we realized, okay, these are not people. These are droids.
For sure.
And this is really, literally worst case scenario for Din. He can't protect Grogu. He can't stop it. He can only watch. His home forever has been destroyed. Yeah. There's nothing left.
The people who took Grogu are a group of beings that he hates, that Din is absolutely
scared of.
Yeah. So
good point.
It's true worst case scenarios all around. And it really is heartbreaking just for him. He is a man of action. He's someone who will never stop if there's anything he can do to help who he loves and who he cares about. And in this situation, there's just absolutely nothing he can do.
Nothing.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Slave One follows, but disengages to avoid harming Grogu. And there's also, I remember thinking this was weird back in the moment too, of like, Boba's like, the back, the Empire, the back. It's like, where?
It's like,
they you never left.
Yeah, did you register that they were defeated at any point? I thought you were kind of in the Sarlacc for all that.
Exactly. Like even if you're to like logically, like, okay, like he knew that the Empire was defeated. He was with the Tuscans for these last 5 years.
Yeah. And they're still around too. It's not like he wasn't running into them at all. He's been traveling around the Outer Rim, I think. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's a weird moment. So Din walks through the smoking crater of the Razor Crest. He picks up the knob. He finds the Beskar spear intact. I think this matters symbolically because everything else burns, Beskar remains, right? Like, that's the one thing that I think Din can rely on is his Mandalorianism. Like, that's all he has. So I think it sets up for next episode, for what he does in the next episode, to be that much of a bigger deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I cannot wait until next week. It is, or not even
This week.
Not even next week. This week we're doing
2 episodes this week.
Double release week. So you don't have to wait long. But The Believer is, I know, one of both of our favorite episodes of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And we've got a great guest to discuss all that with too.
Yes, we
as
do.
well. So look for that in your feed.
Yeah,
later
this week. Yeah. So in this moment, I think Boba kind of is like, I guess this is a good time to say, like, I am kind of a Mandalorian. So he shows his chain code, which is cool because, like, okay, here's the chain code. This was something that was set up in season 1 of The Bad Batch. That's super cool, number one, of like how that connects. But he shows, like, okay, Jango is confirmed a foundling through that information.
And that was always kind of the story with Jango. It was Jaster Morel or Morel.
So Jaster's name is in the chain code as well as being kind of like their grandfather in a way.
Yeah. And I love that because that was, it's in the chain code, like in Mandoa, right?
Yes.
We got that translated. Yeah. So I mean, as far as I know, that's a canon. That's a canonization of Jaster Morel.
Yeah, I mean, even like Jango and Jaster fighting in the Mandalorian Civil Wars, he mentions that in this episode. So that's kind of now like semi-adjacent to canon in a way. Like, we don't know what it looks like, but I imagine it's the same conflict that forced Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Satine to go on a whole year run on Mandalore. And that's where Obi-Wan and Satine probably fell in love, was during this same time period.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would agree. So I mean, this whole scene is a huge deal for answering questions that we'd had for a long time.
Right.
It makes permanent the Mandalorianism, like the Mandalorian status of the Fets. It gives us kind of confirms that the backstory that we have in our heads, at least loosely, we can keep. It's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. In this moment too, Boba kind of shows Din some grace in the moment too, of like, I'm proving this. I own this.
Yeah.
And Din's cool with it now because he sees that. But then Boba kind of offers like, I know that you need help right now.
Yeah.
I am willing to give you that help.
Yeah. He knows that Din is going to have a hard time accepting help, so he frames it as like, no, we didn't actually complete the deal. But this is totally just Boba being like, hey, I can see that you're
about to lose it,
really out on a limb with nobody else, so we'll help out.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think that's really cool of Boba. Like, there's a layer to Boba Fett that I don't think we understood or have seen before. Of like, this dude's truly a man of honor, even more so like than Jango. Not so much, I don't think, but Boba for sure.
Yeah, I think Boba is making his way in the galaxy in a much different manner than Jango, even if the same spirit of things is present. But
quick off the top of your head, who do you prefer more, Jango or Boba?
It's really hard because Jango, I think, just because
as we're prequel babies, right?
Yeah, as I was a kid, when the prequels were coming out, Jango was my guy for the whole Attack of the Clones era. Like I had the Jango Slave 1 instead of the Boba Slave 1 Lego set and stuff like that. So yeah, I think Jango just for nostalgia.
Same.
But obviously I think Jango's barely a character in comparison to Boba at this point.
Django did not have the fighting skills that Boba does.
No.
But also think about Boba's upbringing and training of like, I mean, we see that through the Clone Wars TV show of like, he was basically with every bounty hunter ever. And they all trained him. And the biggest one being Cad Bane.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, I think Boba is for sure the better fighter. I think he's the better person. Probably there's, all of that's true. I'm going to have to go with Django for nostalgia reasons.
Now, Tamara Morrison keeps saying that Disney has not reached out to him since the Book of Boba Fett and that there's nothing in the future with Boba. I don't think I believe him. I don't understand how he wouldn't be in the Mandalorian Grogu if an underworld plot is a huge deal.
Yeah. So I believe him in that. I don't think there are any plans for a season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett.
Which I think is a mistake.
I do, because I think you could actually deliver on some of the promise of that show with a second season.
I agree.
That, especially avoiding some of the traps of like having Mandalorian episodes in your season and stuff like that. I think it is a shame that it didn't get the chance. However, I do understand. Of the shows, I think it was both in terms of the product and the reception. I think it was one of the weaker, especially if we're talking about a season 1.
Here's what I'm going to pitch it right now.
All right,
you could do a season 2 of Skeleton Crew and the Book of Boba Fett in one, where he has to be kind of like their mentor instead of Jod.
He's the new Jod.
He's the new dad.
Yeah. That would be hilarious.
That would be great.
They get stranded.
Neil and Boba Fett.
Yeah, they all take a field trip to Tatooine, but they get stranded. The transport gets attacked by pirates or something, and then Boba Fett has to shelter these kids and hold off a pirate siege. Yeah, you could. I see it. It's right there.
Yeah.
That works. But all of that to say, so I think he's probably telling the truth about, there's no plans about a second season of Book of Boba Fett. I don't think I think Disney has not contacted him about that. I think he's absolutely probably going to make an appearance in The Mandalorian and Grogu. I think he's for sure going to show up in the future crossover events.
Has to.
Like with Thrawn and all that kind of stuff.
But also I like when actors lie to me and surprise me. Like,
yeah,
you're an actor. It's okay. Your job is to lie. I am not making this up. I know this is 100% true. Before The Mandalorian Grogu was a movie, it was going to be season 4 of The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Here's some things that I know about what season 4 was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
They were making Boba Fett's armor again.
Okay.
This is also kind of weird. I don't know how this would play into the movie, but they seemingly were making sets for Naboo.
Interesting. Naboo.
Here's what I think. I think Grogu was literally with Jar Jar at one point.
Okay. That makes sense.
I think that's what was happening.
With, after Keller and Beck handed him off or something like that.
To himself.
To himself, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just Ahmed Best taking care of Grogu in one costume or another.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, I like that. Anyways, let's get back and finish this episode. I just want to throw that out there of like, maybe Boba's in the movie. I don't know. Okay, so Boba keeps the deal open. They're not done. And then we cut to Navarro. Din goes to Kara, not as a bounty hunter, not as a warrior, but almost as a desperate parent. And he's asking for information on Miggs Mayfeld.
Yeah.
She resists until he says they have Grogu, and then they find him, that he's at the Carthon Chops. He's under New Republic jurisdiction because of what happened in season 1.
Yep.
But they need him because he's a sharpshooter.
Yeah.
So Din's putting together a team.
Yes. He's got one last job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's cool. I was very surprised because, I mean, of all the sort of like I mean, he's more than a cameo for sure, but it's sort of a cameo part, just having Bill Burr in as Mayfield. But he was not he was not on the top of my list to come back from season 1 in terms of what I thought was likely. But I am so glad he does come back because again, next week's episode, or not next week's, just this week's episode. This week's episode. It's a fantastic one. So.
It's one of the best of The Mandalorian for sure. Then we get a final scene. Grogu is in a cell on Gideon's cruiser. He's fighting. He's scared. He's exhausted. The stormtroopers are going for him, and he's throwing him with the Force, trying to keep him back. This is probably the most heartbreaking I've ever seen Grogu.
Yeah,
of like this is truly awful. And Gideon watches, like he's like kind of enjoying it a little bit, like he's getting off on it.
It's also like he's taking in scientific data.
Yeah, like he's getting excited by the data that he's receiving. Like,
right.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So he watches. He's calm. He ignites the darksaber. Grogu reaches for it, and Gideon says, "You've gotten very good with that." To me, this suggests history.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's an awareness there. Possibly experimentation before, not just what we saw in season 1 with Pershing, but like I think
before
maybe
that.
Gideon has come across Grogu before.
Yeah, I think that's supported by everything we continue to learn. But yeah, it seems like there's some history.
Yeah, Grogu is then stunned. He's restrained. Later, Pershing is notified. They call Grogu a donor. I think that's a really important word because it kind of suggests, okay, it's more than just training, testing, anything like that. It's about extracting that blood.
Right.
And going back to the Siege episode of like what they're trying to make out of that.
Yeah.
And then the episode ends there on a tragedy. But then that means we only have 2 episodes left in season 2 of The Mandalorian. One of them coming this week. The next one, the finale with the Resistance broadcast.
Yeah.
Next week, the big one with Luke Skywalker. We're going to be talking about that with them. It's going to be a good time. And then we're going to have a few weeks off before we start the Book of Boba Fett back up.
Yep.
But man, it has gone by fast. And that means, dude, at the time of this recording, we're 125 days away from the movie.
That's nuts. That is nuts. It's like it's basically a third of a year.
How crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I'm so excited. And hopefully we're going to start to find out if that information we talked at the beginning of the episode is going to start to trickle in a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? You can't keep that damn hold up. It's about to burst, I feel like.
Yeah. I agree with you. Especially the next time we see any new footage in terms of a new trailer or anything like that, I think it'll be revealed if that has any merit or not. I think it'd be hard to not either confirm or deny it by what it shows. But it's crazy. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Again, we'll be back very soon, sooner than normal, with another episode of the Mandalorian Rewatch. If you enjoy what we do here, you can leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you're listening on. If you want to go above and beyond and support us financially, as well as get access to over 100 episodes of bonus content, as well as access to an amazing Discord server. And extra voicemail stuff when we're in season on a show, or I'm sure we'll do some of that kind of stuff after the movie. If you want all of that, just $2 a month at patreon.com/MandalorianWatch. We'd really appreciate it if you check that out. Tell everybody about our show. If you've got anybody that you're talking about the lead up to the Mandalorian and Grogu with, get them to listen, and you can talk about everything we talk about around the water cooler or whatever it is. So
or maybe it's May 20th 2026 and you're doing a rewatch of The Mandalorian like 2 days before the movie comes out, and you're just like, I just found this podcast. Hello, future.
Hello, welcome.
We're about to have the most epic breakdown of that movie that you've ever heard.
For sure. We'll go check out all of that stuff. We will be back with another episode of the Mandalorian Rewatch. But until then, keep the watch.